break a little late. I apologize for that. So we'll have a little bit shorter of a segment here with Lucas Weber from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. This is the Vicki McKenna Show. Lucas, welcome to the show.
Hey, Vicki, how are you?
Well, I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed because this is, the third time the legislature has attempted to put wedding barns out of business. And now apparently they're also looking to put Airbnbs out of business as well, at least if you like to consume wine with friends at your Airbnb rental. So what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a legislation that would change our liquor license laws here in Wisconsin. It would change who those laws are applied to, open up regulations to a whole host of new businesses, including wedding barns, event venues, Airbnbs, who have never been regulated by the state in this area and who aren't in the business of selling or handling alcohol. They'd all be required to get a license to continue operating as they have been, in some cases for decades.
All right, so you have wedding barns, and somehow the Tavern League thinks that if we could run these damn wedding barns out of business, boy, those brides are going to be lining up to go to the naughty paneled corner tavern to have their receptions. I think that's honestly, this is an anti-competitive piece of legislation, and any GOP lawmaker who signs on to it should be ashamed of themselves. But that's the first thing, is that they want to force the wedding barns, who are not bars, to get liquor licenses they can't even get in a lot of cases because their locality won't let them have them. They don't want to be taverns. They just want to rent their facilities and let the bride and groom and the party buy some booze and serve their guests.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it's all part of this, what seems like Groundhog Day just keeps coming back. But it's this insatiable desire by these special interests to put these farmers out of business.
Who are the special interests? It's not just Tavern League. It's also, it's got to be the hotel lobby or something like that, because if you're trying to put Airbnb out of business, it's because the hotels are getting hit.
It's tough to tell exactly who's supporting this provision in this bill because it's a 156-page bill, I think. And so there's so much stuff in there. There's so many groups that are supporting the bill, but it's because, all these groups got their reform in there, or their piece of it. The bill does so much. And then, of course, tucked in as part of that lawmaking process was this little provision that's gonna put these farmers out of business. It's, as you said, anti-competitive and ridiculous. They
basically said, and what the people who support this bill say, oh no, we're going to grandfather people in. It'll be fine. They can have a non-serving license. It'll be okay, except they can only be open for 6 times a year? They can only
6
rent
times a year.
Yeah, they can only
no
rent
more than one per month.
One wedding per month at wedding barns that easily have 2 or 3 per weekend.
Exactly, and any individual at those events under that license could not consume liquor if they wanted to. So they'd be prohibited by law from toasting each other with an old-fashioned on their wedding day, for example.
All right, and what's going on with the Airbnbs? Are they saying the same thing, that you have to have a liquor license if you're going to rent your house to someone who's going to bring booze from Costco?
Exactly. So what they do is they expand the definition of who's required to get a liquor license, and it would include spaces such as Airbnbs, but they put an exception in there that says Airbnbs that have enough beds for all adult guests are exempt. So what that means, nobody really knows, right? But if you have 2 beds in your Airbnb, can you have 6 people over for dinner and have a Miller Lite on vacation? It's pretty ridiculous. It's poorly drafted. This is what happens when special interests get together and scheme up ways to put their competition under. They just do stuff like this.
Could you be more obvious? I mean, seriously. Oh, you're exempt from the liquor license rule if you have enough beds for every adult guest, also known as a hotel. I mean, come on. This
and of interest too, the county-owned parks are also exempt under this. So you wouldn't need a liquor license if you go rent out the if there's a barn-like facility that's owned by your local county park, you wouldn't need a liquor license there, but you would need it if you go to your farmer. So
if you go to your farmer, you need a liquor license, but if you go to the park, you're good to go. You need a liquor license if you're an Airbnb, but if you're a hotel, no problem. People can just bring in the carts of booze and party hardy in the hotel rooms with only 2 beds.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. How is this even, this isn't even a standalone piece of legislation. Why isn't it a standalone piece of legislation? It's a big liquor overhaul. It's a 3-tier overhaul. And so you've got this element in it that, why isn't that sliced off? They're trying to put 2 types of businesses in Wisconsin out of business.
Exactly. And I think the reason that it's not sliced off is because it could never stand alone, right? This was part of, the horse trading of lawmaking, I assume. Somebody got something they wanted. In order to get that, they had to agree to, destroy wedding barns in Wisconsin.
Horse trading. You know what? I tell you what. I'll agree to destroy somebody else's livelihood if you give me what I want in this piece of legislation. That's what horse trading would have sounded like at the Capitol. Let me agree to destroy the livelihood of people. You just give me what I want in this piece of legislation. That is despicable.
It is, and at the hearing last week, we had a number of barn owners showed up. It was a pretty good hearing. I think they got the issues out there and made the public aware of what's going on in this legislation, and certainly hopeful that the legislators amend it to take this piece out and let the wedding barns exist for another day.
Yeah, well, in Airbnb. Or people who rent rooms, just let rooms on Craigslist. You've seen it. There's all kinds of different ways people rent out. It's not just Airbnb. We're using that because it's the easy thing to understand. I suppose, what are some of the other ones out there? There's other apps out there, but you can just go on Craigslist and rent somebody's, you can rent someone's whole lake house for a summer.
Exactly. And our revenue agent's going to be knocking on your door to count the number of beds in your house every time you have a dinner party.
Does this count for
this is the kind of stuff that, what are we doing?
Is this lake cabins as well? Like, folks?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah, if you're renting out a whole house, if you want to have a family reunion at an Airbnb, good luck. If you don't have enough beds for all your extended cousins, you're not going to be able to do it. It's silly.
There's a ton of these these cabin grounds where, there's a lake. I just passed one near Portage on my way back from Canada. And, it's 2 adult beds and maybe some small beds for kids. But if you want to have the whole family over for an afternoon, you want to drink, everybody needs a bed for that?
Yeah, all adult guests. Which doesn't even make sense because, of course, adults from 18 to 21 can't drink anyways. So
adult guests. So even if you can't drink, people need to activate on this, even if it's not your thing, because it's the antithesis of what government is supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be conniving to put people out of business because other people compete with them. This is so unethical that it should be illegal.
Exactly. It's just an attempt to shut down competition. I've said time and time again, I'd be more than happy to work with any of these groups who are heavily regulated to find ways that they can alleviate their own regulatory burden. They don't need to use the heavy hand of government to shut down others that they view as, not fairly regulated. We just don't need it. Government doesn't need to be involved here. They haven't been. Nobody's clamoring for this change. There's no outcry from the people of Wisconsin to shut down wedding barns. It's silly.
Yeah, let's poll this one. Everybody who wants to shut down wedding barns because they allow people to bring in liquor from Costco to the wedding, say yes on a advisory referendum. Same with Airbnbs. Darn it, they're not hotels. They're not paying the hotel tax. This is AB 304 and SB 332. AB 304 and SB 332. That's
Correct.
What this piece of legislation is. And people are saying, oh, it's wonderful. It's going to overhaul the 3-tier system, at the expense of putting people out of business. Lucas, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Vicki.